This is the Golden Gate. It's the east gate. It's known as the Mercy Gate to Jerusalem. As you can tell, it's been sealed up for a long, long time.
In 2026, hairline cracks are spreading across a gate in Jerusalem that no human hand has opened since 1541, and the security cameras pointed at it keep failing at the exact moments witnesses report a pulsing light inside. Maintenance workers say they hear voices from chambers that have been sealed for 5 centuries. Seismologists are picking up tremors along a fault line that runs straight from the Mount of Olives to the gate's foundation, and the pattern doesn't match anything they've recorded before. Religious leaders from 3 different faiths have reportedly been called in privately, looked at the photographs, and said nothing. And the gate, the one prophecy says, will only open for the Messiah.
According to Jewish tradition, the Messiah will enter Jerusalem through this gate.
Is no longer silent. What witnesses are reporting in 2026. Start with the cameras. Security feeds covering the eastern wall of the Temple Mount have been cutting out in 2026 in a very specific pattern. Not the whole grid, not the surrounding sectors, only the cameras pointed at the Golden Gate. The blackouts last seconds at a time, sometimes longer, and they cluster around the same window of the night. When the feeds come back online, the timestamps don't always match. Operators have logged the failures. Technicians have inspected the hardware. No fault has been found. No technical cause has been published. The pattern matters. A camera failing because of weather, power, or vandalism does not select its target. It cuts out at random. These cameras select. They go down at the gate. They stay up everywhere else. The same lens, the same circuit, the same network, behaves differently depending on what it is pointed at. That is not a hardware problem, that is something else. During Ramadan, a maintenance worker walking the area near the sealed gate reported something he could not explain. He heard voices, not muffled traffic from the plaza, not echoes from worshippers gathered below. Voices that sounded like prayers coming from inside the sealed chambers behind the gate.
It has been blocked and sealed like this for close to 1,000 years. No one can go through the gate and enter Temple Mount from here.
The chambers have been bricked shut since the 16th century. There is no entrance. There is no occupant. There has not been a person inside that space in roughly 500 years. He filed a report. The report was not denied. It was not investigated. It was simply not addressed. He was not the only one. Other workers in the area have described similar things on different nights. Faint sound coming through stone that should not transmit it. Voices that stop when listeners step closer. The reports are consistent enough that they have started to circulate quietly among people who work the perimeter. Not on the news, not in official statements. In the conversations that happen when shifts change and no one is recording. Then the photographs surfaced. Blurry, low resolution, taken from a distance through the camera, failures, and the dark. They show what looks like a flickering light behind the stones of the gate.
Was actually right over here. The original gate, which was also sealed up.
The light has no obvious source. There is no electrical wiring. Inside those chambers, no fire, no reflection from outside that would explain it. Witnesses who saw the light in person describe it the same way every time. It pulses, slowly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. That detail is what people keep coming back to. Not just light, a pulse, a rhythm, something that suggests timing, something behind the wall that is doing more than burning. The witnesses are not connected to each other. They describe the same cadence. They use the same word, heartbeat. The photographs were shown privately to senior religious figures from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. None of them spoke publicly about what they saw. Each delegation reportedly asked that the images stay confidential. No statements, no denials, no explanations. Just silence from 3 of the largest faith traditions on Earth, all looking at the same picture, all choosing not to comment. That silence is the part that unsettles people the most. Anything unusual near the Temple Mount normally triggers an avalanche of headlines, official briefings, security responses, archaeological inquiries. This time, there is nothing. The institutions that should be speaking are not speaking. The institutions that should be investigating are not investigating. The cameras stay broken, the reports stay unaddressed, the photographs stay private, and the cracks keep spreading. Stonemasons who have studied the gate over the years describe its preservation as unusual. The rest of Jerusalem's old city shows centuries of weathering. the slow erosion that comes with 2,000 years of weather, war, and traffic. The Golden Gate has resisted that decay. It looks closer to the day Suleiman sealed it than to the millennia it has stood under sun, rain, and siege. Now, for the first time in living memory, that surface is changing. The cracks are small, hairline. They run across the lower courses of the seal, fine lines that catch the light at certain angles and disappear at others. They are appearing in a structure that resisted change through 500 years of empires, earthquakes, sieges, and time. They are appearing now. In 2026, visitors who have stood in front of the gate this year describe the same impression. Something feels different. The stones look the same from a distance. Up close, the surface tells a different story. The cracks are spreading slowly enough that day-to-day observation barely registers them. They are spreading fast enough that month-to-month comparison shows the difference. Photographs taken a year apart, side by side, do not match. The gate is changing on a timeline no one can stop. The fault line beneath the mountain. Underneath all of this, the ground itself is moving. Seismologists studying the geology of Jerusalem have mapped an active fault line running beneath the Mount of Olives. The line extends west, directly toward the eastern wall of the Old City, directly toward the Golden Gate. In recent surveys, the instruments have recorded micro-tremors along that line, small vibrations, frequent, increasing. A micro-tremor is not a felt earthquake. It is a movement in the rock too small to register at the surface, picked up only by precision instruments. Most cities sit on bedrock that produces a baseline level of micro-tremor activity. Jerusalem has its own baseline. The readings under the Mount of Olives in 2026 are above that baseline, and they have been climbing. Geologists who have reviewed the data admit the pattern doesn't fit standard tectonic behavior. Normal fault activity follows recognizable rhythms. It clusters around stress points. It releases pressure in predictable ways. Tectonic strain builds slowly and discharges in bursts. What's happening under the Mount of Olives doesn't match. The tremors are too regular, too localized, too closely aligned with a structure above ground that has nothing to do with plate mechanics. The rhythm reads almost mechanical, sustained, patterned. Here is the detail. That makes this matter. The Golden Gate and the Mount of Olives sit on the same continuous slab of limestone bedrock. They are not two separate sites. They are geologically one piece of stone, connected underground, sharing the same foundation. Whatever moves beneath one moves beneath the other. The gate and the mountain are physically linked at a depth no surface observation can reach. That changes how you read the prophecy. When the prophet Zechariah wrote that the Mount of Olives would split in two on the day the Messiah's feet stand on it, he wasn't describing a metaphor that lives only in Scripture. He was describing a geological event, a physical rupture. And the fault line modern seismologists have identified runs through exactly the ground Zechariah named. The same bedrock the Golden Gate is anchored in, a line of weakness underneath the mountain that Scripture said would one day break. In 2026, that bedrock is moving. Not in a single dramatic earthquake, in small, persistent pulses, like something underground is shifting position, getting ready, settling into a new alignment. The instruments are recording it. The geologists are not sure what to call it. Some have classified the activity as anomalous and left it at that. The recordings continue. The pulses keep arriving, the frequency keeps climbing, and the gate above keeps cracking. Combine the seismic data with the camera failures, the pulsing light, the voices from sealed chambers, and the silence from the religious authorities, and the picture stops looking like a series of unrelated incidents. It looks like convergence, different systems failing in different ways at the same place at the same time, surveillance failing on the surface, stone splitting on the wall, sound bleeding through chambers no air should reach, light pulsing where no light source exists. Bedrock moving in a rhythm that should not exist along a fault line that Scripture identified 3,000 years ago. The pattern is the warning. Each piece in isolation has a possible explanation. Cameras break. Workers hear things. Photographs distort. Faults shift. But the pieces are not in isolation. They are stacked in the same place, in the same year, around the same structure, and the structure is the one prophecy reserved for one event. The people watching this most closely are not the ones making the most noise about it. The seismologists with access to the raw data are issuing technical reports, not theological statements. The maintenance staff, with first-hand encounters, are filing internal notes that do not leave the building. The religious authorities who have seen the photographs have closed ranks and stopped commenting. The story is being assembled by outsiders, piece by piece, from leaks, from filed reports, from the visible cracks anyone can photograph from the plaza below. The institutions that know the most are saying the least. That too is part of the pattern. Before we go any further into what was sealed inside that chamber and why 3 different faiths reportedly went silent after seeing it, hit subscribe. What's coming next is the part nobody wants on the record. Why this gate was sealed. To understand why any of this terrifies the people studying it, go back to 1541. The Ottoman ruler Suleiman the Magnificent ordered the Golden Gate sealed shut. He did not give a political reason. He did not cite military necessity. He did not name a defensive concern. According to long-standing accounts, Suleiman sealed the gate because of a dream. The dream came to him repeatedly. Night after night, he saw the same scene. A figure approaching Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives. The figure walked toward the eastern gate, passed through it, and entered the city. When the figure crossed that threshold, everything changed. The Sultan woke from this dream the same way every time, disturbed, unsettled, convinced that what he had seen was not random. Suleiman was a sultan at the height of Ottoman power. He had armies, treasuries, and scholars at his command. He did not panic. He summoned council. He brought in Jewish rabbis. He brought in Christian priests. He brought in Islamic scholars. 3 traditions, 3 different theological frameworks, 3 separate sets of texts written in different languages, codified across different centuries. He asked each of them what the dream meant. They reached the same conclusion. The figure was the Messiah. The gate was the threshold of the end of days. The dream was a warning about what would walk through that doorway. 3 faiths that disagreed on almost everything else agreed on this. The same gate, the same arrival, the same significance. Suleiman ordered the gate sealed with stone. That was step 1. Masons walled it shut from the outside, course by course, sealing the entrance flush with the rest of the eastern wall. Then he did something stranger. He ordered a Muslim cemetery built directly in front of the gate. The graves were placed deliberately. In the path, anyone approaching the gate would have to cross. The cemetery served 2 purposes. For Jewish priests, contact with a cemetery creates ritual impurity, which would prevent a priestly messianic figure from approaching the gate at all. The cemetery functioned as a second seal, a religious barrier on top of the physical one. The first wall was made of stone. The second was made of law. But the cemetery did something Suleiman did not intend. By placing the dead in front of the gate, he created a test, not a barrier, a test. To pass the cemetery, whoever came for the gate would have to overcome the impurity of death. To overcome death, that figure would need power over the grave itself. Suleiman, trying to prevent the Messiah's arrival, accidentally designed the exact filter the Messiah was prophesied to pass through. The graveyard became the ultimate proof of messianic authority. Only someone with power over life and death could cross it. Only someone capable of raising the dead could clear the path. The Sultan who tried to seal prophecy may have set the stage for it. The barrier became the credential. The cemetery became the gate's authentication system. Anyone who could not pass it failed the test. Anyone who could pass it had already proven who they were before they touched the stone. And the gate behind the cemetery has stayed sealed for almost 500 years, waiting for someone capable of walking through both. What Suleiman did in 1541 was not a casual administrative decision. It was the act of a sultan responding to a vision he believed was real, advised by the leading scholars of 3 faiths, executed at imperial scale. He committed Ottoman resources to sealing 1 doorway. He committed Ottoman authority to defending it with a graveyard. He treated the sealing as a matter of cosmic security, and the seal he built has now stood longer than the empire that built it. The Ottomans fell. Their territories were divided. Their maps were redrawn. The gate is still sealed exactly where Suleiman left it. The graveyard is still in front of it. The arrangement has outlasted the civilization that put it in place. That is how seriously he took the dream. That is how durable his answer to it turned out to be. And that is the seal that, in 2026, has finally started to crack. Every attempt to open it has failed. Suleiman was not the only one who tried to control this gate. Every serious effort to alter it has collapsed. The pattern is consistent enough that the people tracking it have stopped calling it coincidence. In 1917, plans were drawn up under the ruling authorities to demolish or modify the Eastern Gate. The proposals were specific, the work was scheduled. Within the same period, British forces took Jerusalem. The political situation flipped overnight. The plans were never executed. The administration that approved them was no longer in charge. The gate stayed sealed. In 1967, during the Iowa Six-Day War, Israeli forces gained control of the Old City, including the area around the Golden Gate. Discussions began about reopening it. The military situation made it possible. The political momentum was there. According to accounts from the time, a senior rabbi intervened. He told the military authorities that no human had the right to open that gate, only the Messiah. Whoever forced it open prematurely would be acting against the prophecy the gate was sealed to honor. The plan was dropped. The gate stayed sealed. In 1948, Jordanian forces holding the area considered turning the gate structure into a military position. The eastern wall offered tactical value. The gate's chambers could be used. The plan was abandoned without a public explanation. The position was never built. Engineers from earlier centuries reportedly tried to modify the structure and watched their tools fail in ways they could not account for. Hammers that broke on the first strike, chisels that dulled on contact, equipment that worked everywhere else and failed at the gate. The reports were filed. The work stopped. Archaeological teams began excavations near the foundations and were reassigned without cause. The digs were promising. The funding was in place. The teams were credentialed. Then the orders came down, the personnel were transferred, and the sites were closed. The reports never appeared. The findings, if there were any, were not published. The 1993 incident is the one that stops people. During the Oslo-era peace negotiations, a proposal was floated to symbolically open the Golden Gate as a gesture of reconciliation between Israeli and Palestinian leadership. The ceremony was scheduled. The logistics were arranged. The political will was there. The night before it was supposed to happen, leaders on both sides reportedly experienced the same dream, independently. The same image. A figure standing in front of the gate, shaking his head, saying 4 words. Not yet. Not by your hands. By morning, the ceremony was canceled. No public reason was given. The leaders did not explain the cancellation. The press received no statement. The proposal vanished from the agenda. The gate stayed sealed. That is the pattern. Not failure through resistance. Failure through interference no one can explain. Tools that break. Plans that collapse the night before execution. Dreams that arrive in 2 leaders at once, in 2 languages, on 2 sides of a conflict, with the same words. Whoever or whatever is keeping this gate sealed has been doing it consistently, across centuries, across empires, across faiths, against every authority that tried to override it. The gate has outlasted the Ottomans. It has outlasted the British Mandate. It has outlasted Jordanian control. It has outlasted Israeli debate. It has outlasted peace processes, war plans, archaeological campaigns, and theological negotiations. Every actor who has tried to change it has run into something they could not account for. The gate has won every contest, every time, for 500 years. And in 2026, after centuries of standing against every human attempt to open it, the gate is starting to crack on its own. That is what changes the equation. The gate did not yield to Suleiman's masons. It did not yield to British engineers. It did not yield to Israeli planners or Jordanian commanders. It did not yield to the 1993 ceremony or the 1967 debate. It is not yielding to anyone now. It is changing without anyone touching it. The prophecy itself. To understand why the cracks matter, you have to understand what the gate is for. 2,000 years ago, Jesus rode a donkey down the Mount of Olives, crossed the Kidron Valley, and entered Jerusalem through the Eastern Gate. The route was not random. It was the literal fulfillment of a line written by the prophet Zechariah 500 years earlier. Zechariah 9:9. Rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Your king is coming to you, humble and riding on a donkey. Every detail of the entrance lined up with the text, the direction, the mountain, the animal, the gate. Crowds laid palm branches in front of him. The route is documented. The gate is the same gate that now sits sealed under Suleiman's stones. The first prophecy was fulfilled at that exact threshold. For Christians, that moment closed the loop on the first prophecy, the first coming, the humble entrance, the sacrificial lamb. But Zechariah did not stop at chapter 9. The same prophet wrote a second prophecy in chapter 14 about the same gate, the same mountain, and the same arrival. Zechariah 14:4. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two. Same gate, same direction, same mountain, different entrance. The first time, a king on a donkey. The second time, a king who splits the mountain by standing on it. The doorway that welcomed the lamb is the doorway prophesied to welcome the lion. And the geological fault line under that mountain is the line modern seismologists are now watching tremor. The two prophecies form a frame. The first arrival was quiet. The second is described as cataclysmic. The first entered through a gate that was open. The second is described as entering through a gate that has been sealed for centuries, after the mountain itself splits in front of it. The geography of the prediction matches the geography of the present. The fault line is in the right place. The gate is in the right place. The cemetery is in the right place. The cracks are appearing in the right place. Jewish tradition expects the Messiah to enter Jerusalem through this gate. Christianity expects Jesus to return through it. Islam calls it Bab al-Rahmah. The Hebrew name is Sha'ar Harakamim. Both translate the same way, the Gate of Mercy. Three of the largest religions on earth, three different theologies, three different timelines, all watching the same eastern doorway, all calling it by the same name. That convergence is rare. The three faiths agree on almost nothing about the end of days. They disagree on who arrives, when, what they do, and what it means. They disagree on the identity of the figure. They disagree on the sequence of events. But they agree on where. They agree on the gate. They agree on the name. They agree that mercy is what comes through it. And the gate, in 2026, is doing something it has not done in 500 years. Jerusalem is mentioned in biblical prophecy more than 800 times, more than any other location on earth. Most of those references point forward, not back. They describe a future. At the center of that future stands the Golden Gate. It is the threshold the prophecies are organized around. It is the door the texts have been pointing at for thousands of years. Other signs are accumulating around it. Temple vessels have been recreated, crafted to the specifications described in ancient texts, ready for a temple that does not yet stand. Red heifer candidates are being raised and studied for ritual qualification. Animals that under Jewish law are required for the purification rites tied to a rebuilt temple. The Jewish calendar is moving through dates some scholars consider prophetically loaded. Global political alignments echo patterns described in apocalyptic texts. None of these signs would mean much in isolation. Together, with the gate now visibly cracking, they read like a list. Items being checked off, conditions being met. And the gate keeps changing. The cameras still fail. The technicians log the failures and find no cause. The pulsing light still appears on the photographs no one will release. The voices in the sealed chambers have not been explained. The seismometers under the Mount of Olives keep recording tremors that should not be there in a pattern that should not exist, along a fault line that connects to a structure prophecy says will split open. The gate is still sealed. The cemetery is still in. Front of it, the cracks are still spreading. 500 years ago, Suleiman the Magnificent sealed this doorway because of a dream he could not stop having. He used stone, he used graves, he used everything an empire could mobilize to keep one figure from walking through one gate. The empire is gone. The graves are still there. The stone is starting to give. In 2026, something is moving on the other side of that wall. Whatever it is not asking permission. The cameras cannot see it. The geologists cannot classify it. The religious authorities have looked at the photographs and gone quiet. The cracks keep spreading. Tonight, somewhere along the eastern wall, a camera will go dark for a few seconds. A worker on his rounds will hear something he will not report. A seismograph in a basement laboratory will record another pulse from a fault line that Scripture named 3,000 years ago. And one more hairline crack will appear in stones that no one has touched. and the gate of mercy, the one prophecy reserved for a single arrival, is no longer silent. If the gate of mercy really is stirring, what do you think walks through it first? And does the world deserve to see it? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want the next piece of this story, the red heifer, the temple vessels, and why 2026 keeps showing up in prophecy, subscribe now so you don't miss it.